morning. I'm Mark Angel. I'm one of the co-founders at Amira Learning. I've been building EdTech for a long time. You may have used some of the applications like Accelerated Reader and the Renaissance Star Assessment, but I'm here to make a case today that has 4 parts. And part number 1 is the unpleasant part. To this very moment, right till now, EdTech has been an abject failure. It just hasn't worked. We've tolerated it, but it hasn't worked. Because of that failure, this is part 2, because of that failure, we've literally let millions of kids down, not just as a function of the pandemic, but generally. Part 3 of the case is that we're at a moment where AI tutors can make a profound difference. I think you will believe, if not today, very, very shortly, that AI tutors are the most important thing that has happened in education since we kind of invented the foundational classroom. Part 4 of the case is that it's not just that AI tutors are different or innovative. AI tutors are going to be the answer to the fundamental challenges that we've struggled with for years and years and decades and decades. So let's plunge into it. The most important innovation in our personal lifetimes is the large language model, LLMs, the thing that's kind of powering almost everything that's going on in this conference hall. But the second most important innovation was the iPhone. And when Steve Jobs announced the iPhone, he said 3 things about it. He said, it's a widescreen iPod, it's a revolutionary phone, and it's a breakthrough internet communicator. And then he said, but it's one device. He put the iPhone in the context of what had come before. And this is because technology evolves generationally. It takes phase shifts, it skips and it jumps. And when we want to understand how technology is going to impact and affect us, we have to think about those generations, right? Fighter jets, we don't need to be a military expert to understand that fighter jets have evolved from that Gen 1 pretty old-fashioned thing to Gen 5, and we can take one look and say, well, we know that Gen 5 fighter jet is going to be a lot better than Gen 4, a lot better than Gen 3. If we look at the iPhone and we look up at the little bars, we'll see a 4G or a 5G notation because our wireless networks have evolved in generations. Well, so has EdTech. We just haven't recognized it as much because EdTech hasn't evolved so much. But the truth is we're on the 2nd generation of EdTech right now. The first generation was literally just taking paper and making it digital. When we created Accelerated Reader, it was about taking hundreds of thousands of paper quizzes and digitizing them and giving kids the opportunity to answer those questions on a computer. That was Gen 1. It didn't have very much effect. When we went and did the research, we saw what the reading scientists would call a 0.1 effect size, barely noticeable. The last 10 years or so, we've been in Gen 2 of EdTech. And the marketing folks gave us this idea that Gen 2 was about adaptation and personalization. Well, what it's really been is that we've taken content and we've created some different pathways, more appropriate pathways for kids to navigate through that content. But it's still been unbelievably simple stuff. And the effect size has still been about 0.1. It hasn't really worked. We're on the verge now of seeing something that is truly better and different. It's an AI tutor that combines a lot of the characteristics of what we know are foundational to the instructional process. AI tutors will live in our world of voice. They'll be powered by evidence. They'll be immersive. They'll be conversational. And they'll actually be sensitive to the feelings of students, and they'll know how to improve. So let's take a little bit of a deeper dive on what an AI tutor is all about. And the foundation of this is understanding that AI isn't one thing. It's a set of components, a set of capabilities. And the reason we call it AI is that each of those capabilities mimics one of the things that kind of makes us people, that makes us human. For example, speech recognition, right, gives software the power to listen. Image recognition gives software the power to see. What we believe is AI tutors are going to be a stack of these kinds of capabilities. They're not going to be one kind of AI or this kind of AI. You'll see a lot of stuff out there where people put a wrapper on the ChatGPT. AI tutors aren't going to be about that. They're going to be about compositing different capabilities into a student experience that really works. So I'm going to take you through that kind of experience by showing you Amira. Amira's an AI reading tutor, a little bit at work, and then we're going to talk about how this stack of speech recognition, reinforcement learning, large language models, and classifiers can come together to create a great experience.
Yeah.
So what you're hearing is just a student reading.
Watch your friend go up the stairs as I
And the AI tutor takes advantage of moments where the student is struggling to provide help.
Cat. Now you try it. Say all the sounds in pups.
Pups.
Great job.
Pups run to you. A cup can kiss you.
Look at this word. This word should have 3 letters and 3 sounds, but there is a letter and a sound missing. Let's investigate. Pup has 3 sounds. But there are only 2 sounds here. The is missing. Click on the letter at the top that makes the missing sound. Right.
Okay, so what you saw in that video are the first of the 2 components of an AI tutor. AI tutors are going to live in our verbal world. If you go into a classroom's all about talking, about communication, kids talking to one another, teacher talking to kids, teacher working with other students while other students are working together. It's about the thing that comes most natural to us as learners, which is conversation. For AI tutors to be effective, they have to live in that same natural language spoken world. And you can see they're able to do that today. The second component you saw is decision making. When the AI tutor is confronted with an interaction with a student, the AI tutor, just like a human tutor or a human teacher, has to decide, what am I going to do to actually help this student learn in this moment in time? And it's that decision making that's going to shape whether the AI tutor really does a good job or is just a schmuck, right? So the AI tutor uses a kind of reinforcement learning model that enables the software to take all the data in that moment and to use that data to decide to do X or Y. And you saw Amira in the first case do one thing with the bear and the stairs. And the second case, when Amira heard that the student said cup instead of pup and knows that the student is struggling with the initial sound, Amira did something very different, reflecting the information in the moment. So the way to think about an AI tutor is the way to think about a self-driving car. If you go to San Francisco or Phoenix right now, you'll see the Waymos tooling around the streets on their own, and they're making decisions all the time, left or right. Hit the steering wheel, hit the brake, do this, do that. The thing that's powering those cars is reinforcement learning, and that's the capability that's going to power AI tutors and powers Amira. The third kind of component are supervised learning classifiers. These are the AI tools that, for example, Google Diagnostics uses to figure out if an MRI has a cancerous tumor or benign tumor in it, right? It classifies that image into something to worry about or something not to worry about. AI tutors will constantly take in data and decide, is this student dyslexic or not? Is this student frustrated right now or not? Is this student needing extra motivation or support or not? So the third component of an AI tutor is the ability to distinguish different situations and to branch and respond to those situations. The last capability of the AI tutor is the power to converse. And I'm going to show you a little bit of that power in the context of, once again, Amira. So here we go.
After the war, Earhart's parents wanted her to come live with them in California. To get there, Earhart boarded a plane and flew for the first time. It was a magical experience and transformed Earhart's life goals. That first flight prompted her to take up flying lessons as soon as she owned a plane and earned her pilot's license.
What does the author say were the events that led to Amelia Earhart becoming a pilot?
She went to visit her parents in California and had to take a plane together.
You're right. The author did tell us that Amelia Earhart had to fly to California. What does the author say about why that flight made her want to become a pilot?
Because the text said it was magical and that she wanted to take up flying lessons.
Great job thinking about how one event in Amelia's life led to another event that in the end caused her to become a flyer.
Great. So as you can see, our AI tutor can use those large language models to actually have a dynamic conversation, which is the fundamental ingredient of the learning process. So when you put those things together, you get incredible power, right? With speech recognition, we bring AI tutors into the world of communication. With reinforcement learning, we give the AI tutor good judgment based on data and evidence. With large language models, we give conversational power. And with classifiers, we give the power for the AI tutor to respond and distinguish to different students in different moments. But hopefully, you're saying, all right, the technology is interesting, it's cool, but can it really make a difference? So what I want to spend just a couple of minutes doing is putting our situation in EdTech in the context of MedTech and the history there. If we look at where we've been the last 40 years, there's one key word that the data tells us. It's flatline. We have not improved. We're exactly where we are today a long, long time ago. And that's pretty unique because that's not the state of the world in most kinds of things. The bad thing is, even worse than not improving, is that we're not improving from a place that's incredibly destructive for so many kids. These little dots are all the school districts in the state of California, and they're plotted against the average parental socioeconomic status in that district, and then arranged against reading scores. And it probably leaps out to you, right? It's an almost perfect correlation. Today's schools are a mirror of the parents. What outcomes we get are the outcomes that come in. Demographics is learning outcomes destiny today. And hopefully we all believe this has got to change, right? This has got to get better. If we go back in time, we can see these same flat lines in other aspects of the universe. If we go back to 1720 and look for 100 years at global life expectancy, we see the same flat line. Absolutely no gain for 100 years. But now, if we look at what's happened in the last 100 years, we see something radically different. Why? Because technology finally took hold. We got pharma, we got medical devices, we got the power of tech to work in the healthcare space. That's what we need to do in education. Here's where you may say, but whoa, we've had EdTech, right? EdTech came into classrooms about 20 or 25 years ago, and you've already seen the flat line. In EdTech, we haven't seen that same kind of acceleration. And so this is why AI tutors are so important. What we need to recognize is that what we've done before in EdTech, it just didn't meet the bar of learning. We were able to discover MedTech that helped, but what we've done in Gen 1 and Gen 2, it just hasn't been sufficient to really create change. And this is where the new world of AI is so different. We need to stop thinking about EdTech as a tool. We need to start thinking about it as a partner. And this is what we've learned about true AI in all parts of the world. When we go to factory floors, they call the AI robots who work on the factory floor a cobot. Why? Because that particular machine works hand in glove with people. It's not about the machine over here, people over there. It's about the human and the AI working in partnership. When Microsoft announced the new AI tools for engineers, they called it Copilot, because the idea is that the AI and the software engineer can partner together to create code. When we see now creative people, artists and musicians working with AI, it's a co-creation process where the AI and the human are working together. Too much in education, we've said, is AI as good as people? Is AI going to replace people? These are the wrong questions. The right question is, how can AI and people work together to create a new synergy that changes that arc? And what we believe is, right, what we believe is that we can get to a three-part harmony. A harmony where the AI tutors, the teachers, and the family work together to finally deliver the kind of growth that we need in our schools. So here's what I'm going to leave you with. When AI reaches its full potential, it is going to be a true game changer. This is data about Amira in Utah. So last year, during the school year, the state of Utah asked all the reading programs that are widely used in the state to give usage data to the state so they could track the impact. And then they gave it to a university, and the university looked and said, well, what's the relationship between what students did and their growth on the state summative tests? And what they found is the abysmal failure repeated again. Conventional EdTech moved the needle, not much at all. They found that human tutoring did a nice job, actually made a pretty big increase, but that when students worked just 30 minutes a week with an AI tutor, they had on average a year and a half's worth of growth in that school year. Now let me tell you, this is good stuff. It finally shows that EdTech can give something back. But I'm going to tell you that we are at such an early stage. Amira is primitive today compared to what AI tutors will be in 2 years, 4 years, 6 years. We're on the verge of actually being able to partner EdTech and teachers together. And when we do that, we're going to get this. We're going to see the same kind of curve we saw in MedTech. We're going to finally see the test scores go up. And we're going to look back and we're say 2024, that's the year where AI tutors finally came into classrooms and began to come into their own. So thank you very much.